farming. I know there's a lot of people who give them pull about these farmers charging for their workshops, but they've worked for a long time and worked really hard to perfect things and proven them successful. Why wouldn't I want to compensate them? Because I want somebody to compensate me for those vegetables that I'm growing and taking the time to produce as well. You go to the next one? Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Mr. Jean-Martin Fortier, or J.M. Fortier. He's known as the market gardener. If you're not familiar with him, who here has not ever heard of J.M. Fortier? Okay, so actually, that's great. I'm actually good. So J.M. Fortier, he's a market gardener. He's out of Quebec. He is most noted or known for writing a book several years ago called The Market Gardener. He's got about 15 years of experience. He did, when he was young, act as a woofer, act as an intern, and traveled all over the world learning farm practices, and has followed a lot of people like Elliot Coleman and some others that do a low-till, no-till method, intensive planting on a 30-inch bed with a lot of successions, and the focus being on those higher value crops, lettuces, baby root veg, tomatoes, not potatoes. And I'm going to say this in Oklahoma, not okra, sorry. I know a lot of people grow okra. Please somebody grow okra, because I'm not. So anyway, we actually, we found out about his book through another YouTube permaculturist that we follow. Just to give you an idea, when I say successful, his home garden on 1.5 acres in Quebec is grossing about $150,000 a year on really decent margins. And so he was somebody that I thought, okay, I want to invest in his class, and I had to do a lot of talking to my husband to convince him that that was a worthy investment, because it wasn't an inexpensive. It was close to $2,000 to invest in the workshop. It's very, very, very thorough though. I don't know if you can see on the left-hand side, he has information about season extension. He has soil information. There's webinars, Q&A sessions that he does live on a monthly basis. There's all kinds of tools and implements and irrigation, and then there's about 30 different crops that he does a video from prepping the ground to seeding to cultivating and managing to harvesting to prepping for market, and runs through all of that. And there's PDFs, so if you're more of a reader, that's great. I'm a visual person. I read his book, I absorbed it. I needed to see from start to finish, because I didn't know how to grow all these plants. I knew that I could, and I knew that it would work. I just needed to have that visual representation, I guess. So I highly recommend you looking into him. Get his book, find him on YouTube. He gives conferences and does talks that you can find for free on YouTube. They're incredibly informational, because not everybody can invest that, I get that. But I will say that entire amount of money that I invested in his class, I was able to recoup through discounts that he offers with vendors. Actually more than that, I recouped over the amount I paid for the class just in discounts on the tools that we needed to purchase. So, next. Okay, the next one is Ray Tyler. He is the lettuce guy. So I may have been told that lettuce couldn't be grown in Oklahoma in the summer, and I knew better because I had heard about Ray from a couple people. He is in rural Tennessee, about 1.5 hours outside Memphis. He used to do kind of a larger scale 2-acre garden and did the pastured poultry and pastured animals, scaled back to 1 acre. And if anybody was in Kevin's class earlier, you heard him say he's doing over $200,000 a year on 1 acre, in mostly lettuce. And it's beautiful. We got to go to his place. I will say the thing I like about his lettuce class, it is very, very, very thorough. Both of his class and JM's class have Facebook groups that are very active, but you will not meet a more genuine and generous person in this industry than Ray Tyler. He will give you his phone number to call or to text, but this again runs through his system that he has found to produce beautiful, healthy, delicious lettuce 12 months a year in 100-degree temps and 100% humidity. So I cannot recommend his class enough, and it's much more affordable than JM's class, and in all honesty, 1 bed of lettuce sold at market paid for his course. So, next. Okay, so just a quick other sort of online technologies that I've used to learn is the Small Farm University, Michael Kilpatrick. It's like having a farm consultant in your back pocket with him. He grew up on a family farm. He's been doing it his whole life. His brother actually farms in Oklahoma, does pastured beef and lamb down in, I can't remember the name of the town, down by Ada. But his focus is more on the business side of the farm instead of necessarily the growing. There is that access there, but he has a lot of information we used in helping to set up our wash and pack shed and sourcing materials, and then also just good business practice marketing with our booth, how to do those kinds of things. So I highly recommend him as well. Okay. Next, sorry. Okay, who here has ever heard of Curtis Stone? Okay, he's great. He's a totally different, he's an urban gardener, so it's a different context, but he has a lot of great information because he still does the 30-inch beds, and he also has a lot of interviews with Ray and with JM, and it just goes back to the whole point of you guys can learn anything on YouTube. I learned when we first started, but that's how I learned how to band my calf. That's how I learned how to butcher my chickens. And that's how I've learned a lot of the stuff. So there's a lot of free information through YouTube, through, like I said, Curtis Stone. You can go search through his videos and find just an incredible amount of information on how to grow things. Next, like there, how to grow lettuce in the heat. Did you see that? Okay, so the next section I'm going to talk about is planning. Failing to plan is just planning to fail. And if you were Kevin's breakout, you heard about how he uses spreadsheets through Excel. My husband is an Excel guru. I look at it and I see lines and numbers. That's all. It means nothing to me, and I can't make my brain make sense of it. So for me, I decided to invest in a program called 10.ag, and it is not a free service. It's a subscription-based service that you can either do monthly or by the year, but it is so full of information and data, and so just full-ranging for me that it was well worth the cost of the program. So this picture that you see here on the right is an example of what I would do when I start a new plot of carrots. And if you look at the top, it shows me the variety. I put in where I'm going to put it, how long my bed is, what day I'm going to start it, how long it's going to be in the ground, if it's a baby or an adult, how I'm seeding it, if I can actually choose my seeder if I want, my spacing. It tells me how many seeds I need, so I don't have to worry about over-ordering or under-ordering seeds. And then it actually will break down. I can say I'm going to do 1 bunch of carrots per row foot, which is probably pretty generous because I'm still new to carrots. But I'm selling this for $3 a bunch, and it's going to also, at the very top, if you look up, it's going to show me that bed's going to produce 300 bunches and generate me $900. So it shows me very quickly a lot of information that I can decide, okay, do I need to maybe, like that sounds crazy, $900. Like really, am I going to get 300 bunches out of that bed? So I can go mess with those numbers to be more, an accurate presentation of what I. Yes?
What program did you
It's 10.ag. The next slide will have it, or one of the next slides will have the link on it. So this is just an example of part of that information. When I create, here what you see is a bunch of different crop plantings that I've generated for different dates. And there's actually a Google Map image of my farm with my plots overlaid. So if I were to hover on this radishes, it would show me exactly where on the plot that it would be at any time. So it's a really great way to be able to, and I reference that a lot, like if I'm like, okay, where am I going to put these again? If I'm out in the field, I can pull it up. It has a phone app that's amazing. Every time you do a planting, it generates a task calendar, and you can build in templates with that. So, for example, with my carrots, I can set and say 3 days or 6 days after I direct sow them, I need to flame weed, and 10 days after that, I need to fertilize. And it builds that template, and so every time I create carrot beds, it fills that information onto a task calendar for me that's up on the phone app, so I can literally pull up my phone app when I get up in the morning, and it tells me exactly what I need to do for the day and all the different crops. Next. So this is an example of the crop plan that it generates. And you can see on this one, I think it's several different beds. I don't know how close it is. But basically it's a layout, so that what do you call it, Kevin? That's a technical term.
Gantt chart.
Gantt chart, thank you. I just called it calendar view. The Gantt chart of the different beds and the timeline. So I can see if a bed is empty for a certain amount of time, or I can know where to place the next rotation of crop that I want to see. And then it has all the information, of course, the different varieties, how many feed I'm doing, and all of that. Days in the bed. Okay, so let's talk about the actual growing part of farming and how technology helps that. I mentioned the spade and how that's a tool and my BCS. Go ahead, next one. Tools or technology, like I mentioned. So here's 3 ideas or 3 ways that I'm using technology that have completely changed my life. The first being the germination chamber. Our germination chamber, I spent a total of $50. I got a old freezer at a estate sale and bought what's called an ink bird. It's a thermostat control. You plug the freezer into the ink bird into the wall. If any of you guys have brewed beer, you are familiar with this. But what I can do is I can override that freezer's condenser and I can set the temperature where I want. Because if I'm going to spend all the money I'm spending on these seeds to grow these crops, I need them to germinate consistently. The germination chamber makes that possible. I get about 100% germination on just about every crop I put in there. And they'll stay in there for a couple days. My lettuces, I know 48 hours later, they're coming out and going into the greenhouse. The paper pot transplanter, you guys. This tool has saved my knees. It's a little controversial. The organics board are allowing it for now. They're still in discussions. Part of the reason I haven't certified organic yet, because this tool makes such a life-changing difference for us. I can transplant 400 heads of lettuce in 10 minutes.
Wow.
That's a lot. Let me tell you, by hand, it takes me a lot longer than that, because I've done it. Because I do my head lettuces still under landscape fabric. I do all my salad mix lettuces and my a lot of my beets. Gonna try carrots. Believe it or not, there's people getting some success with carrots. Mine are pretty anyway. So that's a tool for us that it was a large investment, much more of an investment than a germination chamber was, which was like $50. But it's paid off because those beds of Salanova that I'm pulling out of the ground are the big seller at market. People come back all the time for those. The green spinner is my favorite. That was my DIY that I did. I learned how, through Michael Kilpatrick that I mentioned earlier, has a great tutorial on converting a washing machine into a giant salad spinner. So I rewired it. That's a food grade safe basket. And all of my lettuce mixes, spinach, basically all my greens, go in that for about 4 minutes. And that is the reason that I consistently have people at market coming and saying, hey, I found this box of your lettuce mix in my fridge that I bought 4 weeks ago, and it's still good. And then I say, okay, it's been 4 weeks. You should be eating more lettuce than that. But it's great. I mean, like, you can't reproduce that with one of those hand cranks. Or if you can, and you're young and you want to do that, great. I don't want to crank that much. So those are 3 of the things. The BCS tractor that I mentioned, our walk-behind tractor, is when we're doing intensive planting and flipping beds as rapidly as we are, to do that by hand, there's no possible way. Even on 25 beds, much less the 45 to 50 that we're looking at this year, I can do the BCS most of the time. There's times when my husband has to come out because I've laid her over on her side. But I'm learning. So there's a lot of great tools that we use. And so, like I said, tools are technology. So if you have questions about some other tools, I could talk all day. We made the decision, because we knew this was a business, to do some investing. And Chelsey mentioned that FSA loan brochure. That brochure was the best piece of information I could have ever read. It explained the FSA loans better than any document I had found online. So we did do an FSA beginner loan last year for our equipment purchases. We knew that we have the ability to do things profitably, and one of my biggest stresses was trying to do this method, piecemealing together all the stuff. And that was too stressful, and it's like night and day. Now that I actually have a precision seeder that, I can put a carrot 1.5 inches, 2 inches apart instead of taking my earth-based seeder and dumping 10,000 carrot seeds down a bed and then having to figure out how to thin them. So that's another, I'm a proponent for that. That's the best book that I've seen online for that. Next. Okay, the technology that everybody loves to hate. So I said, remember that you have to be able to sell the veggies you're growing. And as local producers selling at market, we have a really unique advantage over the large corporate growers in that we get to develop a relationship with our customers. And that's huge. But To do that, you can't just be at the market on Saturday. You have to go where they are, and they are on social media. They are on Facebook, and they are on Instagram. They're on Twitter, even though I'm not. But you have to be there. Take pictures of what you're doing. Yes, I was a photographer, but all of these were taken with my phone. And if you want some tricks, I can teach you some tricks that are really easy on getting really good pictures of your crops. But you have to engage with your consumers. I put on there, use the heart, brain, wallet connection. People like to be connected to their food, especially more and more these days. So use that to your advantage. I mean, don't take advantage of it, but build those relationships. I have more fun talking to my customers and interacting with them on Instagram than I do some days in the field, especially when I'm pulling out metal. So keep it positive. I mean, share a little bit. You want them to understand the work that goes into it, because it's hard work. But you don't want to always be sharing all the negative things. I will be honest, some of those Facebook groups are some of the best places for that, because I can go out and vent with fellow farmers and not have to feel like my customers are like, oh, well, wait, is she going to actually have anything now because of all this? Because you need that. You need to have that camaraderie. But on social media, I try to keep it really positive. Instagram, I share on there, and then you can link it. You can schedule posts. So you don't have to get on Facebook every single day to share something. You can get on there once a week or once a month and schedule a whole bunch of posts, and they automatically go on there for you. If you do that, please go back and check and respond back. If people comment on your posts, it's got to be both ways. So if you're asking them to engage with you, you have to engage back. Gosh, I went fast. Next. Another way online is our social media is our website. Our website's all white, so it looks really bad on this white screen. We don't do a whole lot on our website. I know a lot of people do blogs and do more information. We have our About Us. We have information about what we're growing. We have recipes. A lot of times at market, I don't have time to say, hey, here's how you should grow, how you should eat this. And I want people to know how to eat the foods I'm growing, because we grow some unique things, the cracker-eyed turnips, and a lot of people are like, what is this white thing? And they're amazing. So we'll say, hey, go check our website. We have our recipes there. We're using it right now mostly, though, for our Buyers Club, which is our version of a CSA. And it has, if you see at the top right, it says Dibs. That's our online storefront. So our CSA people will actually get a Buyers Club card that they shop off of, but they get access to the storefront where they can pick out what they want for the week, and then we hold it for them at market, and they pick it up there. Or we can deliver it to them for $10. So I think, next slide. That's it for now. That's all I have time to talk about. A lot of you guys know I could talk a lot longer. Honestly, we've been super blessed to be able to do this, and the fact that I'm standing here in front of you after doing this for a year is crazy. This technology and the things that I've been able to learn and do because of it are the only reason that's possible, and because somebody else thought that it was worthy of me sharing with you. I hope that anything you've taken away from here you can use. I'm not going to stand here and tell you this is the only way to do things. I know growers in this room who are doing things completely different and killing it, and that's amazing. I'm just saying this has worked for us, and it can work. I've seen it work for a lot of other people. So what I hope you'll take away, if you don't use any of what I've shown you, is to continue to want to get better, to learn more, to learn different things, to try different things, to stretch yourself. I love what he said, the last thing. I actually had already written this, but I'm not afraid of competition, and a couple of the vendors in our market will tell you, I welcome it, because it makes me accountable to be a better grower and to make them a better grower, and ultimately that means I bring a better product to market, and the people who benefit from that are our customers. They deserve the best. My goal is to make the farmer's market look so good that they don't want to go to the grocery store anymore, that they can come to our market, because they can get just about everything they get at the market, or at the grocery store at our market. So that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions? We have about 5 minutes before session ends. For you, just to give